Hello there. So, the captain of a UK nuclear-powered submarine gets disciplined for having a lockdown party with his sailors. Firstly, please give this video a like to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new videos, so please do check back daily. Now, I think the hierarchy of the Royal Navy and its public relations team had a bit of an off day on this one. Basically, the captain of HMS Trenchant is under administrative investigation for going ahead with a party on the submarine, despite being advised that he should not do so by his superiors. Case closed. Well, not quite as far as I'm concerned. But first, a little lesson in technical naval language, better known as Jackspeak. A submarine is referred to in the Navy as a boat. Boats are launched from ships, so this may be a throwback from the early submersibles that were lowered into the water from ships. So when I refer to the boat, I am of course talking about the submarine. Another useful word here is Banyan. Jackspeak for a barbecue or party where you usually indulge in steaks and beer. Oh yes, and I will admit to some interest here, as I was part of the first crew that took the Trenchant out of the builders' yards at Barrow-in-Furness and onto its sea trials, workup and first patrol. So Commander John Lewis had a Banyan on his boat, even though his boss said not appropriate. Now let's put all this into context. According to reports, the Trenchant had been out on patrol for several weeks, but had returned to the Devonport naval base for repairs. Now, if these boats operate in the same way as they did back in my day, the crew not required for duty would be either sent home if they lived locally or allocated accommodation in the nearby shore establishment HMS Drake. Because submarines are extremely cramped, not designed for living on when in port, and spare sailors loafing about get in the way anyway. But the crew were ordered to stay on board, so that the submarine could redeploy to sea with the whole crew having a near 100% guaranteed clear bill of health. Except for coming into contact with any outside repair and maintenance people, as well as items of stores and food to replenish stocks, of course. So what we have is an enclosed single household, all self-isolating together. And sailors are a boisterous breed, especially those of the Royal Navy type. And after weeks at sea, they are usually keen to let off a little bit of steam. Now the whole population is getting a taste of what sailors, especially submariners, go through for weeks and maybe months on end, many times a year. But these sailors also have to put up with intermittent sleep patterns and being surrounded by heavy machinery and always having a live nuclear reactor within a few meters of them, not to mention the live torpedoes. Are you planning to let your hair down once the UK is let out of lockdown? And are you having as good a time as you can while locked down? If police officers can group together to clap the NHS, and if our healthcare workers can expend their time and energy on perfecting their singing and choreography while on duty, then I'm sure a bunch of cooped-up submariners can do the same. And what this comes down to is whether the captain was given a direct order to not hold a Banyan, or whether he was advised not to. And it is a captain's primary job to know his crew so he can get the best out of them. And if he thought an event that would not normally be considered wrong was the right thing to do, then that should be his judgment call. And thinking back, I get the feeling that the first captain of the Trenchant and his first lieutenant would have done the exact same thing. And in short, I'm with captain and crew on this one. I know hindsight is a wonderful thing, But why didn't they just clap for the health workers and then hold the party in their honour? That would have been great public relations, but now it's just a missed opportunity. And that brings me on to Operation Relentless and some positive PR. Operation Relentless is the name for the UK's continuous at-sea deterrence programme. And I talk about this not to give away secrets, because with a little bit of thought anyone can work these things out. No, I talk about this to point you in the direction of another set of heroes out there doing their bit for this country. And these will be the real unsung heroes of the peace. For the last 51 years, since April 1969, the UK has had a nuclear ballistic missile firing submarine continuously at sea defending this nation. It is our final line of defence. We now have 4 Trident missile firing Vanguard class submarines, or SSBNs, on rotating patrol to achieve this. Now, as these vessels are nuclear powered, they can produce all the clean air, potable water and electricity they need to stay out on patrol for a very long time. But the limiting factors will be things like mechanical robustness, diesel fuel levels for the standby power supply, spares and of course food for the crew. And I know a bit about this because I sat in a Whitehall bunker for 3 years, albeit 2 decades ago, and I planned these nuclear deterrent patrols and was personally part of the nuclear release firing chain. And one key part of this whole process is the handover from one sub to the next. And part of the secrecy surrounding this process is that these handover times are not made public. But when that boat sails for nuclear deterrent patrol, you need the submarine to be mechanically sound and you need the crew to be at peak performance and sound of mind, soul and body. So their health is absolutely critical to this. And deterrent boats will only ever break radio silence in the most extreme of circumstances. Their job is to remain completely undetected and undetectable. The last thing that they would need, therefore, is the invisible enemy within a steel tube packed with sailors and no way out. So I would assume that if the submarine currently on patrol sailed prior to the global crisis outbreak taking hold in the UK, then it will be told to remain out for an extended period. But we also always have a submarine and crew on standby to replace the one at sea in an emergency. And I'm sure plans and procedures are already in place to deal with this. But such plans and processes could end up placing even more stress on the families and friends of the crew members concerned, not to say the sailors themselves, than they normally experience. And now give thought to those sailors at sea, right now, and their families ashore. They have enough to endure at the best of times. Please put yourself in their shoes and wonder what you'd be feeling right now. The Royal Navy and Ministry of Defence will be doing all they can to alleviate these worries, and thinking back to my days in the service, then I know they'll be in good hands on this. Back then, the only bug I had to contend with was the Millennium Bug. You know, when all the computer clocks rolled over to the year 2000 and the whole world was supposedly going to melt down. And we got through that night with no dramas except for a loss of sleep. But for the crew on patrol right now, there is no loud music, no Banyans, no tap dancing on the torpedoes for social media or raving with the reactor, because silence and stealth is what it's all about. Those sailors are out there right now doing their quiet duty for us, and their families are sat quietly at home enduring this extra strain for us. So it made me laugh a bit, and maybe concerned too, when politicians and pundits were all asking who's got control of the big red button if our Prime Minister Boris Johnson is ill. Because you'll always have a politician on hand to make that decision, as well as personnel in place to ensure the properly encoded signal gets sent to the patrolling SSBN. But in normal circumstances, you only have one SSBN on patrol with one captain and one crew. Please give that some thought. So in their anti-Boris fervour, all those journos and opposition MPs overlooked the really important bit here. Those people at the pointy end. The questions they should be asking would relate to the health of the deterrent crew and the help and comfort the families are getting. So the next time lockdown seems a little bit difficult, or you have to go without going to parties, pubs and buying stuff from your favoured DIY outlet, please give the officers and crew of our patrolling SSBN a thought, and maybe a bit of applause too. But also sleep content and safe in the knowledge that these people are the real masters of lockdown. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.